So now we're going to start rearranging the simple interest formula. And I think because we've been using the solve function on our calculator, it's actually going to be much easier than having to rearrange the formula like they've done here. So let's have a look at an example and see what I mean by that. Question says find the rate of simple interest of a principal of $5,000 which increases to $5,500 in 9 months. So what information do we have from that question? So let's write it down. The principal is $5,000. Okay, that's what we've started with. And it increases to 5,500. So what would that 5,500 be? Is that the interest? No, it's not the interest, but it helps us get the interest because if we start at 5,000 and end at 5,500, we've actually earned interest. So it means that our interest is equal to 5,500 take away 5,000. So we actually have $500 in interest. What else do we need? Well, we've got time. Time is 9 months, which is 9 out of 12. It's a fraction of a year. And we are looking for R. Well, we're still using the same rule. Remember, I equals PRT on 100. I in this case is 500 and P is 5,000 times. Now R is what I'm looking for, times 9/12 all over 100. So let's put this all into our calculator using solve. And instead of the R, I'm going to use a X. And our calculator gives us X equal to 13.3, which means that our interest rate is 13.3% per annum. Again, with this one, I think rather than use the formula, we're going to use solve in our calculator. So let's write down all the information that we know from the question so that we can calculate the time. So find the length of time. So T is what I'm looking for. It would take for $5,000, which is invested. So $5,000 is my principal at an interest rate of 12% per annum, to earn $404 in interest. So this time our interest is actually given to us. It is $404. All right, again, our rule, our basic rule, I equals PRT on 100. So I, which we now know is 404, is equal to 5,000 times 12, because that's my R. This time I'm looking for T, and that's all over 100. So I'm going to go into my calculator, and again I'm going to use the solve function, and instead of the T this time I'm going to use X. You could use T, but it's much easier just to keep it consistent and just do X. So X takes the place of T over 100, comma X. And our calculator gives us X equal to 245.77. Now that's in days, isn't it? And the question says that it wants it to the nearest day. So T, now you would be able to think about this. 245 days, you haven't quite reached that amount of interest. So you would have to go to the 246th day in order to gain that interest. So it has less to do with rounding and more to do with the actual question itself. So T is equal to 246 days. Looking at calculating the principal here, now depending on how much or how little information we're given would depend on how we would go about working it out. Looking at the first example, it says to find the amount that should be invested. in order to earn $1,500 interest over 3 years at an annual interest rate of 5%. So let's write down what we've actually got. And we know find the amount that should be invested. So straight away, the amount that should be invested is the principal. So that's what we're looking for. In order to earn, the principal earns interest. So the interest here is $1,500, and it's over 3 years, so T is equal to 3 at a rate of 5%. So again, you can see that we've got 3 out of the 4 things we need for the simple interest formula. I equals PRT over 100. So I is 1,500, which equals P, I'm looking for, times 5, which is R, times 3, all over 100. And very obviously, because we've done so much of this now, we can use our solve function on our calculator. So solve is equal to 1,500. And instead of P, I'm going to use X times 5 times 3 over 100, comma X. And I get X is equal to 10,000. Now remember, I was looking for the principal. So the principal, therefore, is $10,000. So what that's saying is that if I had $10,000, invested it for 3 years at a rate of 5%, I earn $1,500 in interest. This next example is a little bit more difficult. So let's see if we can work our way through it. The question says, find the amount that should be invested. So the amount that should be invested is P at an annual interest rate of 5%. So I'm starting the same way by writing down everything that I know. If you require the value of the investment to be $15,600 in 4 years, so T is 4, but what is that $15,600? It's definitely not your interest. It's the amount in your account at the very end, and that was equal to A, if you remember back. So that A is $15,600. Now, that doesn't get us very far because we don't have I and we can't use our usual formula. But what do we know about A? A is equal to P plus I. So really, P plus I is $15,600. And so what I'm going to do now is write I, my interest, as 15,600 take away P. How does that help me? Well, it really eliminates an unknown, and now I've only got one unknown, which is P, because this is what I'm going to do with it. So my rule again is I equal to PRT on 100. In this case, I is going to be 15,600 take away P. And P is what I'm looking for, times 5 times 4 all over 100. So one unknown. It's in two places. It's on both sides of the equal sign, but it's only P. I don't have P and I there. So how do you do that with your solve? Do you remember? We go solve. Now in this case, I'm going to put, instead of P, I'm going to put X. So 15,600 minus X is equal to X times 5 times 4 over 100, comma X. All right, X is what I'm looking for. Put that into your calculator and you get X is equal to $13,000, which means that my principal is $13,000. Now, it's not exactly the way they've suggested in the formula if you look back. If you think using the formula is going to be easier for you, then you can do it that way. But this way that I've set it out is actually reasonably logical. Okay, this is the important bit here though. that recognising that you are given A and that A is equal to P plus I. So that is two different ways of calculating the principal depending on what information you are given.